Jae-ho Kim stood at his laboratory window, looking out at the endless desert that had once been Seoul. The morning sun cast long shadows across the orange dunes that stretched to the horizon. 200 years had passed since the last rainfall on Earth, and most people had left for the colony worlds long ago. He pressed his hand against the thick glass, feeling its warmth. At 50 years old, Jae-ho was one of the few who chose to stay behind. His gray hair and weathered face showed the marks of years spent working under the harsh sun, but his eyes remained bright with purpose. Another day, another attempt, he said to himself, turning back to his workstation. The laboratory was filled with old weather monitoring equipment and modern computers. Screens displayed complex weather patterns and atmospheric data collected over centuries. Jae-ho took a sip of his morning tea, a luxury imported from the Mars colonies, and began his daily routine. As Earth's leading terraforming engineer, he had access to historical weather data that went back hundreds of years. Most people thought he was wasting his time studying Earth's climate history, but Jae-ho knew better. That morning started like any other until his computer made an unusual sound. Jae-ho looked up from his work and saw a flashing alert on his main screen. The computer had found something in the old data files, something that didn't make sense. "This can't be right," he muttered, leaning closer to the screen. The data showed that the last rainfall hadn't stopped gradually as everyone believed. Instead, it had ended suddenly, as if someone had turned off a switch. Jae-ho's hands moved quickly across the keyboard as he dug deeper into the files. Hours passed as he followed the digital trail. The sun was setting when he finally sat back in his chair, his mind trying to process what he had discovered. The rain hadn't stopped naturally. Someone, or something, had made it stop. Jae-ho reached for his communication device and called the one person he knew would understand the importance of this discovery. After 3 rings, a familiar face appeared on the screen. "Newell, are you busy?" Jae-ho asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Newell Park, his longtime colleague, looked tired but alert. "I always have time for you, old friend. What's wrong?" "I need you to look at some data. I think I know why the rain stopped." Newell's expression turned serious. "Send it over." As Jae-ho transferred the files, he walked back to the window. The stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, billions of people lived on terraformed planets with controlled weather systems. They had given up on Earth, believing it was beyond saving. "Jae-ho," Newell's voice called from the screen. "These readings, they show signs of technological interference." "Yes," Jae-ho replied, still looking at the stars. "Someone didn't want it to rain on Earth anymore. The question is, who would do this, and why?" He turned back to his desk and began gathering his equipment. For the first time in years, he felt real hope. If the rain had been stopped by technology, then maybe, just maybe, it could be started again. As night fell over the desert world, Jae-ho made preparations for what would become the most important journey of his life. He didn't know it yet, but his discovery would lead him to uncover secrets that would change humanity's understanding of Earth, rain, and their place in the galaxy. The truth about the last rain was waiting to be found, buried beneath 2 centuries of sand and silence. The next morning, Jae-ho and Newell met at the Old Seoul Science Center. The building was mostly buried in sand, but its top 3 floors still stood above the dunes. Newell had brought scanning equipment to help them search for clues. "The data suggests the weather control technology should be somewhere in this area," Jae-ho explained, pointing to his tablet's map. At 45, Newell was younger than Jae-ho, but desert life had left its mark on him too. His black hair was streaked with gray, and his face showed lines from years of squinting against the bright sun. They spent hours walking through the old building, their boots leaving prints in the dust. The scanner in Newell's hands made quiet beeping sounds as it searched for hidden technology. "Look at this," Newell said suddenly. He was standing near an old elevator shaft. The scanner's beeping had become louder. There's something below us, something big. Jai-Ho joined him, and they studied the readings together. The scanner showed a large structure extending deep underground. The elevator shaft goes down further than the building plans show, Jai-Ho noticed. Much further. They found the emergency stairwell and began their descent. The stairs were old but still strong. As they went deeper, the air grew cooler. Their lights showed scratch marks on the walls where sand had been cleared away recently. "Someone's been here before us," Haenul whispered. After climbing down 20 floors below ground level, they found what they were looking for. A massive metal door blocked their path. It looked new compared to everything else they had seen. Haenul's scanner went crazy near the door. "This is it. Whatever stopped the rain. The controls are behind this door." Jai-Ho examined the door's control panel. Unlike the dusty stairs, it was clean and showed small lights. "It's still powered," he said with surprise. "After all these years, it's still running." Haenul connected his tablet to the panel. "The security is old. Give me a few minutes." His fingers moved quickly across the screen as he worked to bypass the lock. The door opened with a soft hiss. Cool, clean air rushed out. Inside, they found a huge room filled with humming machines. Everything was spotless, maintained by small robots that moved silently between the equipment. "This is impossible," Haenul breathed. "This facility, it's been running by itself all this time." They walked through the room, their lights revealing more and more machinery. The technology looked advanced, but something about it seemed strange. "This wasn't made by humans," Jai-Ho said quietly. "Look at the writing on these controls. I've never seen anything like it." Haenul stopped at a large screen that lit up as they approached. "Jai-Ho," he called, his voice shaking slightly. "You need to see this." The screen showed Earth, but not as they knew it. In the image, the planet was green and blue, covered in clouds. The date on the image read, 200 years ago, final implementation. They didn't just stop the rain, Jai-Ho realized. They changed our whole world. But why would they say they were protecting us? What were they protecting us from? Before Haenul could answer, a soft alarm started to sound. More screens came to life around them, showing data in that strange alien writing. One of the maintenance robots stopped its work and turned to look at them. "Haenul," Jai-Ho said calmly, "copy everything you can. I think we just activated something we weren't supposed to find." As Haenul worked to download the facility's data, Jai-Ho watched the robot. It hadn't moved, but more robots were gathering now. They weren't acting aggressive, but they were definitely watching. The truth about Earth's last rain was bigger than either of them had imagined. Now they had to figure out what to do with this knowledge, before whoever built this place realized what they had discovered. On Mars Colony, the morning sun cast a pale red light through Yoon Abli's office window. The view showed neat rows of greenhouses and water recycling towers that kept the colony alive. As the colony's lead environmental scientist, Yoona spent most of her time making sure these systems worked perfectly. She was reviewing the daily atmospheric readings when an urgent message alert flashed on her screen. The sender's name made her sit up straight. Jai-Ho Kim, Earth Division. Messages from Earth were rare these days. The message was heavily encrypted, which was unusual. Yoona's hands moved quickly to decode it. When she finally opened it, she found detailed scans and data from the facility Jai-Ho and Haenul had discovered. "This is impossible," she whispered, looking at the facility's designs. They matched something she had seen before, but that couldn't be right. She opened her own files and compared them. The technology in the Earth facility was exactly like the systems that controlled the Mars colony's weather. The same strange writing that appeared on both sets of blueprints. The same shapes, the same patterns, the same impossible technology that nobody quite understood but everyone relied on. Yoona walked to her window and looked at the nearest weather control tower. The colony had several of them, gifts from advanced alien races who had helped humans settle Mars. Or at least, that's what everyone had believed. She returned to her computer and began checking other colony systems. Europa, Titan, New Terra. Every human settlement had the same technology controlling their weather, all of them provided by different alien races, or so they had been told. Her computer chimed with another message from Jiho. The robots in the facility are active. They're watching us, but not stopping us. We need to understand what's in the rain they stopped. Can you check your colony's rain samples? Yuna walked to her private lab. She had access to the colony's water testing facility. The rain on Mars was artificial, created by the weather control towers. Everyone knew that, but no one had ever questioned why it had to be so carefully controlled. She took a sample of the colony's rain and began testing it. Hours passed as she ran every test she could think of. The results made her hands shake. The rain on Mars wasn't just water. It had been carefully designed to not contain certain things, natural things that should have been there, things that were present in every sample of Earth rain from before the Great Drought. Yun-Ah sent an encrypted message back to Earth. The rain here is filtered. They're keeping something out, something that was in Earth's natural rain. I'm sending you the test results. She looked again at the weather control tower outside her window. For the first time, it didn't look like a gift. It looked like a cage. A soft tone indicated another message from Jiho. We need your help. The facility's robots are becoming more active. We think they're reporting to someone. If you come to Earth, bring all the data you can. We need to understand what they're hiding from us. Yuna began gathering her research. She would need to be careful. If the weather control systems on every human world were connected, someone might notice if she started asking too many questions. As she prepared for her journey to Earth, Yuna looked one last time at the red sky of Mars. The clouds above were perfect, created by machines to give exactly the right amount of rain. Now she understood. They weren't just controlling the weather. They were controlling humanity. Inside the underground facility, Jiho and Hainul worked quickly to activate the old weather control systems. The watching robots continued their quiet observation, neither helping nor interfering. The air hummed with energy from machines that had waited 2 centuries to be used again. The power systems are responding, Hainul said, his fingers moving across the control panel. I think we can create a small rainstorm, just enough for testing. Jiho checked the facility's weather maps. They showed a small area of desert directly above them. That's our target zone. Keep the storm small. We don't want to draw too much attention. The machines came to life with a deep rumble. On their screens, they watched as clouds began to form in the sky above. The robots around them moved closer, their sensors glowing brighter. Look at them, Jiho whispered. They're more interested in what we're doing now than when we first arrived. A message flashed on their screen. Yuna had arrived from Mars. They sent her their location, and within an hour, she joined them in the facility. She carried cases of testing equipment and data drives from the colonies. The colonial weather systems, she said, setting up her equipment, they're all designed to filter something out of the rain. Something that was natural to Earth's rain before they stopped it. The first drops of rain began to fall on the desert above. Hainul adjusted the controls, keeping the storm contained to a small area. Jiho prepared collection containers to gather the facility's artificial rain for testing. Yun-Ah worked quickly, examining the rain samples with her advanced equipment. Hours passed as she ran test after test. The robots watched every move, their mechanical eyes never blinking. There's something here, she finally said, looking up from her microscope. In the unfiltered rain. Come see this. They gathered around her station. On the screen, they could see tiny organisms in the water drops. They were unlike anything they had seen before. They're not bacteria, Yuna explained. They're more like tiny engines, natural machines that evolved in Earth's rain. Look what happens when they touch soil. She added a drop of rain to a small container of desert sand. The change was immediate. Tiny green shoots appeared, growing visibly within minutes. These organisms, she continued, they can speed up plant growth incredibly fast. They can transform environments, clean the air, restore entire ecosystems. Earth's rain wasn't just water. It was a natural terraforming system. That's why they stopped it. Jai-ho realized. If humans had discovered this technology, learned to control it, we would have been able to transform any world we wanted. Haenul finished. We wouldn't have needed their help to build colonies. We wouldn't have needed their weather control systems. A new alert appeared on their screens. The robots had finally moved, forming a circle around them. A message appeared in the strange alien writing, but this time, it transformed into Earth languages. Warning: detected analysis of restricted biological systems. Guardian oversight protocols activated. Please prepare for inspection. Guardian? Haenul asked. Is that what they call themselves? We need to save everything, Jai-ho said quickly. Copy all the data, all the test results. They're coming, but now we know the truth. Earth's rain wasn't dangerous. It was powerful. And they wanted to keep that power for themselves. Above them, the small rainstorm continued, dropping life-giving water onto the desert for the first time in 2 centuries. The truth was in those drops, a truth that would change everything, if they could find a way to share it with the rest of humanity. The sound of approaching ships rumbled in the distance. The Guardians were coming to protect their secret. But perhaps after 200 years, it was finally time for that secret to come out. The Guardian ships arrived silently, descending through the clouds like silver birds. Jai-ho, Haenul, and Yuna watched them on the facility screens. The small rainstorm they had created continued to fall, bringing life to a tiny patch of desert above. 3 tall figures emerged from the first ship. They looked almost human, but their skin had a slight blue tint, and their eyes reflected light like mirrors. They walked through the rain without hesitation, their long white robes staying perfectly dry. The facility's doors opened automatically for them. The robots that had been watching the humans now lined up along the walls, standing at attention. The Guardians entered the control room with slow, graceful steps. The tallest Guardian spoke first, their voice surprisingly gentle. We have watched your species for a very long time. We knew this day would come. You were always too curious to accept things without questions. Why did you stop Earth's rain? Jai-ho asked. His voice was steady, even though his heart was racing. Your rain was unique in the galaxy, the Guardian explained. These organisms you discovered, they evolved naturally on your world. No other planet we know of developed anything like them. They are the most powerful terraforming tools in existence. Yuna stepped forward, holding up her test results. They're not dangerous. They help plants grow. They clean the air. They could have helped us build our colonies without your technology. Yes, the second Guardian said. That is exactly what we feared. Your species was advancing too quickly. The power to transform worlds so easily, we feared you would spread too fast, change too much. The balance of the galaxy was at stake. So you stopped our reign, Haenul said. You made us dependent on your weather control systems on every colony world. The third Guardian moved to the main control panel. We did not do this out of cruelty. We have seen many young species destroy themselves by advancing too quickly. We wanted to protect you from the same fate. By holding us back, Jai-ho asked. By hiding the truth about our own world. By giving you time, the first Guardian corrected. Time to develop wisdom along with your technology. Time to learn the importance of balance and patience. Images appeared on the facility's screens. Other worlds where civilizations had grown too quickly, used their power unwisely, and ultimately destroyed themselves. The Guardians had seen it happen many times before. But now you know the truth, the tall Guardian said. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you demand the power back immediately? Will you try to fight us? Or will you show us that our caution was unnecessary? Jai-ho looked at his companions, then at the small patch of rain still falling above. In that tiny area, green shoots were already breaking through the desert sand. The rain's power was incredible, but the Guardians were right. Such power needed wisdom to guide it. "We want to understand," Jai-Ho said finally. "We want to learn. Not just about the rain, but about why you made your choices. Perhaps there's a way forward that works for everyone." The Guardians looked at each other, their mirror-like eyes reflecting the facility's lights. The humans held their breath, waiting. Everything depended on what happened next, not just Earth's future, but humanity's relationship with the wider galaxy. The tall Guardian smiled, an expression that made their whole face glow. "Perhaps," they said, "it is time for us to learn from you as well." 1 week after meeting the Guardians, Yuna worked in the facility's main control room, studying data from both Earth and the colonies. The Guardians had granted them access to all their weather control systems, watching with interest as the humans learned their technology. "The connections between the systems are fascinating," she said to Jai-Ho and Hae-Nul. "Every weather control tower on every colony is linked to this facility. They all work together to filter the rain organisms from our worlds." Jai-Ho nodded, looking at the global weather map. "If we're going to restart Earth's natural rain system, we need to understand exactly how they stopped it." Hae-Nul pointed to several blinking dots on the map. "Look here." They placed weather control towers all around Earth's equator. Each one projects an energy field that changes the atmosphere. Together, they form a complete barrier. The Guardians had left 3 of their kind to observe and assist the humans. The tall one, who had introduced themselves as first observer, stood nearby. "You learn quickly," they said, "but understanding the system is only the first step. Reactivating Earth's natural rain will be complex." Yuna pulled up more data on her screen. The rain organisms are still out there, suspended in the upper atmosphere. They've been dormant all these years, waiting for the right conditions to return. "We'll need to shut down the barrier gradually," Hae-Nul explained. "If we do it too quickly, the sudden return of the organisms could overwhelm the ecosystem. Earth needs time to adapt." First observer's mirror-like eyes reflected the screen's light. "There is something else you should know. When we detect the barrier weakening, more Guardian ships will come. Many of our kind still believe humans are not ready for this power. Then we need to prove them wrong," Jai-Ho said firmly. "We need to show them we can handle this responsibly." Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Red warnings flashed across their screens. Second observer rushed into the room. "Multiple Guardian ships have entered the solar system," they announced. "They are not responding to our signals. They do not approve of our decision to help you." Hae-Nul's fingers flew across the control panel. "They're heading straight for the weather control towers. They mean to take control of the system." "We don't have much time," Yuna said, her voice urgent. "If they lock us out of the system, we might never get another chance." Jai-Ho looked at first observer. "Will you help us? We need to start the reactivation process now before they arrive." First observer was silent for a moment, their silver eyes moving between the humans' faces. Finally, they nodded. "You have shown wisdom in your approach. You have earned the right to choose your own path." They moved to the main control panel, entering commands with swift, precise movements. "I will transmit an authorization code to all towers. This will give you complete control. What happens next will depend on your species' ability to handle this responsibility." The facility hummed with power as they began their work. Outside, storm clouds gathered in the desert sky. The approaching Guardian ships would arrive within hours. The humans had to prove they could handle Earth's powerful rain system before then, or they might lose their chance forever. Jai-Ho watched the clouds growing darker above them. After 200 years, Earth's true rain was about to fall again. He hoped they were ready for what would follow. Dark clouds filled Earth's sky as Jai-Ho, Hae-Nul, and Yuna worked to reactivate the planet's natural rain system. The hostile Guardian ships drew closer with each passing minute. First observer monitored their approach on the facility's main screen. "They will reach Earth in 1 hour," First observer announced. They bring weapons capable of destroying the weather control towers. Once the towers are gone, the barrier will collapse completely. That would release all the rain organisms at once, Yuna said, studying the atmospheric data. The sudden change could overwhelm Earth's ecosystem. Hamnul looked up from his control panel. We could lock the system, prevent them from taking control. Fight back. But Jaiho shook his head. No, fighting is what they expect us to do. They think we're not ready for this power because we'll use it aggressively. We need to show them something different. He pressed a button on the communication panel, connecting to all human colonies across the solar system. His voice would reach every settlement humanity had built. This is Jae-ho Kim broadcasting from Earth, he began. We have discovered the truth about our rain, about why it was stopped, and about the power it contains. But more importantly, we have learned why the Guardians felt they needed to control it. He paused, looking at the approaching ships on the screen. We could fight them. We could try to take this power by force. But that would only prove their fears were right. Instead, I propose something else. Cooperation. Yuna stepped forward, adding her voice to the broadcast. The rain organisms are a natural part of Earth's ecosystem. They evolved alongside us. But the Guardians have centuries of experience managing powerful biological systems across the galaxy. We can learn from each other. Messages began flooding in from the colonies. People were listening, responding, agreeing. First observers' eyes glowed brighter as they read the responses. The hostile ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They took position above the weather control towers, weapons ready. But they did not fire. They are receiving thousands of messages from your colonies, second observer reported. Your people are asking for dialogue, not conflict. This is unexpected. Jaiho spoke again, this time directing his words to the Guardian ships above. We understand your concerns. You've seen other species destroy themselves with power they weren't ready to handle. But humanity has learned something in these past 200 years. We've learned to work together, to build colonies on hostile worlds, to survive through cooperation rather than conflict. Hanul pulled up images on the main screen. Pictures of Earth before the rain stopped. We don't want to simply take back what was ours. We want to work with you. Help us understand this power. Help us use it wisely. And in return, we can show you new ways to help other young civilizations grow. The weapons on the Guardian ships powered down. A new voice came through their communication system, the leader of the hostile fleet. In all our years of watching young species, the voice said, none have reacted this way. Perhaps we were wrong about humanity's readiness. First observer stepped forward. The choice was always going to be yours, they said to Jaiho. And you chose wisdom over power, cooperation over conflict. You have shown us something new. Above them, the clouds continued to gather. But now, instead of bringing conflict, they promised something else. A new beginning, not just for Earth, but for the relationship between humanity and the Guardians. 1 month after the confrontation with the Guardian ships, Jaiho stood outside the underground facility, watching the morning sun rise over a changed landscape. Where there had once been only sand, small patches of green now dotted the desert. The first natural rain in 2 centuries had awakened seeds that had waited patiently through the long drought. Hamnul emerged from the facility, carrying new atmospheric readings. The rain organisms are spreading exactly as we predicted, he said, showing Jaiho the data. The Guardian's guidance is helping us maintain perfect balance in the ecosystem. The weather control towers remained in place, but they now served a new purpose. Instead of blocking the rain organisms, they helped monitor their spread and activity. Guardian scientists worked alongside human researchers, sharing knowledge that had taken millennia to gather. Yuna approached them, her face bright with excitement. The latest reports from the colonies are amazing, she said. The controlled introduction of rain organisms on Mars has accelerated the terraforming process by decades. The Guardian's experience combined with Earth's natural systems is creating something entirely new. A shadow passed overhead as a Guardian ship descended nearby. First observer emerged, accompanied by several Guardian scientists. Their once mysterious technology now worked in harmony with Earth's natural processes. The Council has reviewed the first month's data. First observer announced. They are impressed. Your species has shown remarkable restraint and wisdom in managing the rain organism's power. Jaiho smiled, remembering the tense moments when everything could have gone wrong. We had good teachers, he said, both you and Earth itself. In the distance, storm clouds gathered on the horizon. These were not the artificial rains of the past 2 centuries, but true Earth rain, carrying the tiny organisms that had evolved over millions of years to transform worlds. The Guardians no longer feared this power, because humanity had shown they could be trusted with it. There is something else, First observer said, their mirror-like eyes reflecting the growing clouds. The Council has decided to share another piece of knowledge with humanity. There are other worlds out there with their own unique biological systems. Other young species who might benefit from learning what we have learned together. Hanul looked up from his readings. They want us to help guide other civilizations. Who better? First observer replied. You understand both sides now. The caution needed when dealing with such power, and the importance of allowing species to develop in their own way. The first drops of rain began to fall, each one carrying microscopic engines of transformation. Earth was healing itself, but differently than before. The partnership between humanity and the Guardians had created a new way forward, a balance between power and wisdom. Yuna held out her hand, catching some of the raindrops. Under a microscope, these drops would show the rain organisms hard at work, rebuilding Earth's ecosystem. But to her eyes, they looked just like the rain humanity had missed for so long. Pure, clean, life-giving water falling from the sky. 200 years ago, Jaiho said quietly, they thought they needed to stop our rain to protect the galaxy. Instead, they gave us time to grow wise enough to handle its power. And now, together, we can help others do the same. The rain fell steadily now, washing away 2 centuries of dust and sand. Below the surface, dormant seeds stirred to life, ready to restore Earth's lost gardens. Above, Guardian ships and human vessels moved together through the clouds, their old distrust replaced by shared purpose. The story of Earth's last rain had become the story of humanity's new beginning.